Welcome to 15-minute battles, where we demolish history's biggest conflicts in just 15 minutes. We dive deep into the world's most pivotal military clashes, from the ancient battlefields of Marathon to the complex strategies of modern warfare. The leaders, who were the legendary generals and forgotten heroes commanding the troops, and finally, the outcomes. If you love history, military strategy, and learning something new quickly, you are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another historic clash.
In the arid heart of the Judean desert, long after the fall of Jerusalem and the razing of its sacred temple, a defiant flame still flickered. High above the shimmering Dead Sea, a fortress carved from a mountain peak held the last embers of the great Jewish revolt. This was Masada, and for nearly 1,000 men, women, and children, it was the final bastion of freedom against the might of the Roman Empire. This group of zealots, known as the Sicarii, were led by a charismatic figure named Eleazar ben Yair. They had retreated to this seemingly unreachable fortress, believing its sheer cliffs and isolated location would keep them safe. From their perch, they could watch the world, an island in the sky, far from the clutches of Rome. But they had underestimated their enemy. The Roman Empire did not tolerate defiance. It did not leave loose ends. Masada wasn't just any mountain fortress. It was a masterpiece of ancient engineering, originally built decades earlier by the infamous Herod the Great. Herod, ever paranoid and lavish, had designed it as a royal citadel, a luxurious palace, and an impregnable refuge all in one. It boasted massive storehouses capable of holding enough food and supplies to last for years. Even more impressively, it had a sophisticated system of cisterns, ingeniously designed to capture and store the rare but powerful desert flash floods. For its defenders, Masada was a self-sustaining world, a testament to human ingenuity. For the Romans looking up from the desert floor below, it was a tactical nightmare, a vertical challenge that seemed to mock their power. In the year 73 CE, the Roman response arrived. Lucius Flavius Silva, a determined and methodical commander, marched his famed Legio Ex Fretensis, the 10th legion of the Sea Strait, into the desolate landscape. Accompanied by thousands of auxiliary troops and prisoners of war, Silva surveyed the fortress. He understood immediately that a direct assault up the steep 400-meter cliffs would be a suicidal bloodbath for his soldiers. A different strategy was required, one of patience, engineering, and overwhelming force. Silva began by weaving a noose around the mountain. He ordered the construction of a circumvallation wall, a classic Roman siege tactic. This wall, nearly 2.5 miles long, completely encircled Masada. It was punctuated by 8 fortified camps, ensuring that no one could get out and no help could get in. The vast, empty desert itself was transformed into a prison wall, isolating the defenders completely. The Sicarii on the summit were no longer masters of their domain. They were now captives on their own island, watching as the Roman war machine slowly and deliberately prepared to crush them. With the fortress sealed off, Silva turned his attention to the most daunting task of all, reaching the walls. The eastern cliffs were out of the question, but on the western side, a natural spur of rock offered a sliver of possibility. It was here that Silva ordered his engineers and laborers, many of them Jewish captives, to do the impossible. He commanded them to move the earth and build a bridge to the sky. For months, the desert air was filled with the sounds of construction. Roman soldiers and prisoners toiled under the blistering sun, hauling thousands upon thousands of tons of white stone and beaten earth. Day by day, the colossal structure grew. It was a ramp of unprecedented scale, a testament to Roman engineering and sheer, relentless will. The defenders watched from above as this man-made mountain slowly crept towards their walls, a pale, undeniable finger of death pointing directly at their heart. Finally, the ramp was complete. It rose from the desert floor, a sloping highway of stone, until it reached a platform just below the fortress walls. The impossible had been achieved. Masada was no longer untouchable. With the ramp in place, the final phase of the assault began. The Romans painstakingly hauled a massive siege tower up the incline. Housed within this wooden behemoth was their ultimate weapon, a giant iron-tipped battering ram. The legionaries pushed the tower into position, and with a rhythmic, terrifying thud, the ram began to pound against Herod's ancient stone walls. The fortress, which had stood for a century, began to tremble. Inside, the defenders scrambled to counter the threat. They couldn't stop the ram, so they improvised. Behind the crumbling stone, they constructed an inner secondary wall. This new barrier was made not of rigid stone, but of wood and packed earth. It was a clever design. The soft, yielding materials would absorb the shock of the battering ram, dissipating its force. For a moment, it seemed to work. The ram's blows were muffled, its destructive power diminished. But Silva was not deterred. If he couldn't break the wall, he would burn it. He ordered his men to hurl flaming torches and firebrands at the wooden structure. The dry timber quickly caught fire. At first, a strong wind blew the flames back towards the Romans, threatening the siege tower itself. The defenders must have felt a surge of hope, a sign of divine intervention. But then, as if guided by fate, the wind shifted. It turned back on the fortress, fanning the flames into an inferno. The wooden wall was consumed by fire, and the blaze spread to the main gatehouse, creating a gaping, fiery breach in Masada's defenses. With night falling, Silva made a calculated decision. He pulled his troops back. The breach was secured. The path was open. There was no need for a risky night assault. His soldiers would rest, and at dawn, they would pour through the broken wall and take the fortress. For the Romans, victory was now an absolute certainty. Inside Masada, the smoke-filled air carried the stench of defeat. Eleazar ben Yair gathered his people. The sounds of the Roman camp below, the sharpening of swords, the preparation for the final attack, were a drumbeat counting down their final hours. He knew the end had come. There would be no escape, no surrender, only slavery or a brutal execution. In the flickering torchlight, Eleazar delivered a final, haunting speech. He spoke not of fighting to the last man, but of choosing their own end. He argued that it was more honorable to die as free people, by their own hands, than to suffer the humiliation of Roman capture. He convinced them that death was preferable to a life of slavery, watching their wives and children suffer unspeakable fates. It was a terrible, agonizing choice, but one they would make together. According to the historian Flavius Josephus, who chronicled these events, the defenders embraced their fate with a grim resolve. They destroyed their possessions, everything except the food stores, to show the Romans they did not die of desperation, but of principle. Then they drew lots. 10 men were chosen to carry out the horrific task of killing the others. Families gathered for one last embrace before the fathers, husbands, and sons fell to the sword. Once all lay dead, the 10 men drew lots again. One was selected to kill the remaining 9, and then, as the last man standing, he took his own life. The next morning, as the sun rose over the Dead Sea, the Roman legionaries formed up. Expecting a desperate final battle, they charged through the smoke-filled breach, their shields raised, their swords drawn. But they were met not with the clash of steel, but with a terrifying, hollow silence. As they fanned out across the plateau, they found a scene of unimaginable stillness. The buildings were burning, but the people were gone. They found no one to fight, no one to capture. Only the bodies of 960 men, women, and children, lying in silent testament to their final, defiant act. The only survivors were 2 women and 5 small children who had hidden in the darkness of the underground water conduits. They emerged, terrified, to tell the Romans what had happened. They recounted Eleazar's speech and the pact of mass suicide. For Rome, the capture of Masada was the final stamp on their victory, a symbol of their relentless, unstoppable power. But it was a hollow victory, won over ghosts. For the Jewish people, the story of Masada, though born from tragedy, evolved into something powerful. It became an enduring symbol of courage, sacrifice, and the unbreakable refusal to submit to tyranny. Over the centuries, it transformed into a foundational story of national spirit. Today, Masada is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Visitors can walk through the ruins of Herod's palaces and see the massive storehouses. From the summit, you can still clearly see the ghostly outlines of Silva's siege wall and the 8 Roman camps, etched into the desert floor, frozen in time. And you can stand on the very spot where the great ramp met the wall, a silent monument to an ancient epic struggle. It's a place where history feels not just remembered, but viscerally present, a powerful reminder of human endurance and the price of freedom. Masada shall not fall again.
And that wraps up today's 15-minute battle. If you want to master more moments of military history in less time, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next 15-minute battle.